Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of Swim Lessons, the podcast. My name is Dallas Hansen. My guest today is Cory MacIver. Cory MacIver is the head girls basketball coach of the South Prairie-Max Royals. Cory and I talked basketball, but we also talked about some very important life lessons that he has learned and that I think a lot of people could learn from. I really like Cory. He and I call football games together in the fall for PSP, and now that we're in the winter season, it's time for him and his Royals to make another run for the State B basketball championship in the girls division. State A, excuse me. He and I became pretty good friends this fall, again, working together. And I like Cory because he's a very, very, very likable guy. And also he just, you can tell he's very heartfelt about whatever he's doing, whenever he's doing it. And I appreciate people like that. So I appreciate Cory MacIver. But before we get to Coach MacIver, we got to thank our sponsors today. And one of them is PSP Network. It's basketball season, and PSP is here for you. It's game day. They've been promoting local student athletes forever, and right now, they're in the heart of basketball season, also hockey season, and every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m., you can find me and Bryce Gudnick on PSP Primetime on the YouTube channel. That's at PSP Network. I'm going to be doing some games this Saturday, specifically Minot High and West Fargo team up, Cheyenne, and that's going to be a great game, so tune into PSP, check out their scheduled events on their website. That's psp.network. And also subscribe to the YouTube page at PSP Network. Appreciate Nick Holberg and all the crew coming on board to support swim lessons. Next up is River's Edge Bar and Grill. They're known for offering the best happy hour in town, providing unbeatable deals in a lively atmosphere. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name the Tune. Come on down River's Edge for great drinks, great food, and great fun. And last but certainly not least is Glasso Angus. They're a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. They are your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glasso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they're built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out today. That's Glasso, Glasoe, Angus.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Swim Lessons podcast YouTube page. But now that you're here, let's listen to Cory MacIver, the head girls basketball coach of the South Prairie-Max Royals. Lego. How much fun did we have calling Minot North football games?
Oh man, that was a blast. I've enjoyed those, calling those games. Last couple of years, they've just been a fun team to watch. And they're, they're Jacob up there at home, and they're well coached team, and they're very disciplined. And just working with PSP and calling football games and basketball games too during the winter months, it's a lot of fun. You get a better perspective. Watching the game, sitting back and calling it, and having the coaching background that I have, and being able to play both sports in high school and the coach both sports, you have a better perspective on what the mindset of coaches in different situations and stuff. But yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun. It keeps me engaged in sports too, and just a different atmosphere and a different perspective on what's going on there for people that are watching the games.
I thought they were going to win it all.
I was disappointed. I really was. I think, but we had talked about it. We
called the Devil's Lake game.
Yeah. I mean, in that game, I told people, I mean, they were lucky to get out of there with a win. There were some calls, and of course, it's real easy for people that are sitting up in the stands and in the booth to kind of second guess what's going on. But when they needed to, their defense stepped up and stopped them, and you just knew if there was a chance that those two teams were going to meet again, the outcome might be a little different, because I think Devil's Lake was going to learn from some mistakes that they made against North when they played them during the season. And you saw that in the championship game. They really took advantage of leaning on the run game, and I think that was something that they went away from, especially late, when we were calling that game, and they were trying to throw the ball to win instead of just turning around and just giving it to their just giving it to the stud running back. And I think they learned from their mistakes there, and he got a steady dose of the ball there, especially when they got the lead. That was just, and unfortunately for North, they just didn't have an answer for it, and it's too bad because that
was a
that
good
was
team.
the team. Yeah,
That was the team to win,
that was
yeah.
the team that I think people probably thought was going to bring home, that first state title that Minot North would want. So, but knowing that coaching staff, they're going to be ready to go on again next year.
You called me the night before the game and said something to me when I was calling the state championship game that I remembered distinctly, and I don't know why this sticks out in my mind right now. But you go, Dallas, this Devils Lake team on turf in the Fargo Dome.
Oh,
look out, because they love to throw the football. Mason Palmer, phenomenal player. And that's what happened.
Yep. You look at teams like that when Devils Lake played North during the season. I mean, the conditions were perfect for both teams, and you could just tell that Devils Lake they love to spread the field, and they wanted just to throw that thing all over the place. And you get them in a in a dome setting where there's no way, elements are out the window. And they are a completely different ball club, and they really I felt they took advantage of those opportunities better than Minot North did.
Oh yeah, and then I like working for PSP a lot, but I really like it because some of my good friends now work for PSP, and working with you this past football season, I got to learn so much about you and your family, and then also how you're coaching girls basketball now. And the story about, because we were playing commercials, so just so everybody listening knows, when we're doing a PSP broadcast, it's up to us to play the commercials. And I played a Prairie Grit commercial.
Yep.
You go, oh, I love that. My daughter's playing. I'm like, what, really? And then so during halftime, you tell me about your daughter's story.
Yep.
Do you mind sharing that story? Because I thought it was phenomenal.
No, our youngest daughter, Katie, was born at 33 and a half weeks premature. Had a stroke during utero, so when my wife Kara had to have an emergency C-section, and so her right side is heavily affected by the stroke. So she has a mild form of cerebral palsy, but she's a seventh grader now at Ramstead and on the student council and just thriving. And I have a lot of that commercial about Prairie Grit. I mean, that was something that we got involved with Katie at a very young age, and now she's in every activity that Prairie Grit offers. And that to have something like that in our community that sees the need of having opportunities for kids with disabilities, whether physical, mental, cognitive, whatever, to have them have an avenue where they can go out and they can participate in sports just like an able-bodied kid could. And I think that's kind of for Katie's aspect, that built a lot of confidence in her, to the point where this summer when she was at doing the Prairie Grit adaptive golf, they just meet at the Varden once a week and just be on the driving range and stuff. And there was one day, I think in particular, they were coming home from that, and Katie said to my wife Kara that she goes, I think I want to go out for the girls golf team for Minot North. And this was completely random, out of the blue. We hadn't really pushed anything like that on her. She just kind of thought, she really enjoys and really enjoyed the golf. And Avery Bradley, who works with the Prairie Grit, who you can probably ask for a better person.
Avery Bradley,
to work with kids that way. And she encourages them. She's one of Katie's sled hockey coaches, and we've known her for a while now, and so she kind of got the ball rolling a little. We mentioned it to Avery the next week, and so it just so happened that the head girls coach at Minot North was her golf coach when she golfed at Minot High. So she kind of reached out to him and said, "Hey, I've got this athlete that is going to be a seventh grader this year and is thinking about going," and kind of explained her challenges. And he said, yeah, absolutely. If she's interested in it, have her come out. I went to the parent meeting and kind of talked to him at the parent meeting, and lo and behold, she went out August 4th, rolled around, and she was out there the first day of practice, and and took part in three different JV meets. And so it was a lot of fun. Her first one ever was down in Underwood. So Karen and I were not able to go to that one, but she had one at Apple Grove that I was able to go watch, and then she had one at Wheelings that Kara was able to go to, and Prairie Grit kind of helped out a little bit. They had their para-golfer cart that they have, so she used that at Apple Grove. So she just put her golf bag on it, and it was just like a one person golf cart. She's driving up and down the course with it,
awesome.
And just having a blast. I mean, that was just. I mean, so for her to be able to transition away, out of some of the activities from Prairie Grit into more of the high school setting. We were just, Karen and I were just tickled pink over it. We just couldn't believe that. And this was all her idea too, that, we didn't really push anything on it. But we knew that she had the capability of doing some things. And like I said, Prairie Grit's really done a great job with her. She's kind of come out of her shell a lot. I mean, we remember the first time we took her to sled hockey for the first time. She lasted maybe all of 5 minutes out on the ice.
What happened?
Sled. Well, I think she was like 5 or 6 at the time.
Oh,
so she was really young and wasn't really excited about being there. So we had to do a little coaxing and she had to have one of us out there pushing her at the sled. And of course, neither one of us can skate worth a lick. So we're out there just shuffling along, hoping we don't fall over or anything. So, but yeah, but to see from where that is to where she is now, the only girl on the sled hockey team right now. I think we're trying to recruit some of her friends to come and play too, but she's the only girl on the team, and she gets out there, and those boys are just like her brothers, and they look out for her, and she's much to my joy and amusement, she's gotten a little bit more aggressive on the ice, and she doesn't put up with a lot of gruff from some of those other kids on the other team. She takes it, but she gives it right back to them. So they were just up in Canada right before the week before Thanksgiving with a tournament, and they're going to be down in Brookings for one coming up here in February, and then early March they'll be in Moorhead for one. So they do a lot of traveling for it, and they're trying to get they are working on trying to get something here in Minot, to try to get some teams to come to Minot, to the Mesa for the same thing. So yeah, it's just really exciting for her, and actually, she's not our only daughter. Our oldest daughter, Kaylin, was a preemie as well too. So we've been blessed to have 2 girls in that instance. Kaylin was she was born at 24 and a half weeks. She was extremely premature.
Wow.
1 pound 9 ounce and just barely the length of a ruler. So she spent a lot of time in the NICU here in Minot. She did have some surgeries that were outside of Minot, but spent most of the time in Minot, and brought her home, and we didn't really, with her, she had both hearing and vision losses because of being born so early. And so she's had a lot of setbacks, but she all throughout school, she, didn't phase her really. It didn't affect her, as far as schooling. And she actually went out for the cheerleading team.
Awesome.
When she was in 8th grade, and she ended up making the team. So from freshman through senior, she was on the Minot High cheer team, and actually is probably the most decorated athlete in the entire family. She's a 3-time state champion in cheer. So yeah, now she's graduated, and she's actually a junior at Minot State now, living off on her, just enjoying the college life, living in the dorm, and we only see her when we need to, I guess.
Yeah.
So, if she wants some free laundry or something, or needs a ride to Walmart or Target to pick up snacks for the dorm, it's usually when she gives us a call. But yeah, I think both girls and have overcome a lot of adversity in their lives, and they've each kind of taken different avenues with that too. But Karen and I can be more proud of both of them as far as what kind of kids they've young adult and team that they've grown up to be.
Well, you were talking a little bit about travel there, and you were telling me when we were doing a PSP broadcast after the football game how much travel you guys had to do.
Yeah.
For some of those surgeries, because it was in Rochester.
Yeah,
correct?
Kaylin, she when she became a candidate for a cochlear implant, to go back a little ways, she got her first pair of glasses and hearing aids when she was about 6-7 months old.
Okay,
and we've been going to Minneapolis, every year, for the last 21 years, just to see eye doctors.
and that's not a short drive.
No.
What is it? 9 hours?
It's about 9 hours, but I got my mom and dad live in Wahpeton, so we usually drive there and kind of break it up. And then it's only about a 3-hour drive there from Wahpeton. But yeah, the choices was either Minneapolis or I believe at the time Denver, I think. So we opted to go to Minneapolis because we had family, that direction. So yeah, so we've been going to Minneapolis, since 2004.
Wow.
For routine eye checks, and when Kaylin's hearing was starting to fade in the one side, we went to our ideologist, and she suggested that she might be a candidate for a cochlear implant. And so we kind of went home and talked about it and kind of weighed the pros and cons, and we had some really good resources to lean on as far as individuals that would come to our house and work with Kaylin when we brought her home. And they said, if what really boils down to is what what parents, what we feel is best for her, and that's, whatever decision that is, it's always the right decision, whatever the parents, we feel is going to be the best. And so we decided, well, let's give it a shot and let's just take a look. So we ended up making 3 trips to Rochester in about a 2.5 month span.
Oh my goodness.
So I think the first one was the initial test.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or just an evaluation. And after that, they said, I think she's probably a good candidate, a good chance for it. So we waited a couple weeks. We went back and did the testing for it. But basically what they did is they would take the hearing aid out of, or the hearing aid out of that one side and just kind of run through some routine tests, just sitting across and trying to have her answer. And that was, as a parent, and any parent that will probably tell you, to watch their child struggle through something and knowing that you can't help them. That's probably the worst feeling in the world, because we knew she couldn't hear out of that one side, and we knew the hearing was failing. And for her to sit there and try to repeat just words and just the look on her face, we had to sit behind her, because if we were looking at her, I think both Kara and I would have just had a complete breakdown.
Yeah.
And so just to see her struggle for, that 45 minutes seemed like forever to go through that testing. But, but they needed to do that. They needed to do that testing because they needed to know for sure if she was going to be a candidate, and sure enough, she was. And so then we had to come back for the surgery. And then, usually, the doctor said when after the cochlear implant surgery, they usually wait like a week or so, and then they activate it then. But they realized we're coming from Minot, North Dakota to Rochester, Minnesota. That's a haul. So we ended up staying a couple more extra days in Rochester, and then activated her implant then before we came home. And that, I tell you, that was kind of a night and day thing for her. We still, my wife still tells the story. We were staying in a hotel, and there was underground tunnel system that went to the Child's Hospital in Rochester. And so we were kind of making our way. We stopped at Subway for breakfast, and my wife had a cup, and she hit the ice dispenser on the cup, and Kaylin kind of froze and just kind of looked at Kara, and she goes, "What was that?"
Whoa.
And Kara's like, "Well, that was the ice from the machine." She had never heard that before.
Whoa.
And so Kara's like, so she goes, "Do you want to try it?" So she goes, "Yeah." So Kara dumped out the ice in the cup, and Kaylin proceeded to like fill that cup up like 2 or 3 times. I mean, there was people behind us waiting.
Who cares?
Yeah, we just kind of look around and we're like, "Oh, we're just apologizing." And I think the people were realizing what was going on, and they're like, "No, that's fine." So just the simple things like that, you don't realize,
take for granted.
Yeah. Just caught her completely off guard. And, and then after that, she was, she'd go outside, and she was, she could hear birds chirping just these sounds that you just naturally take for granted, that you don't assume are that these kids that have some hearing losses, they don't hear until, something like that. So she's been fortunate. Now she's kind of upgraded, her hearing aid that she has the implant on one side and an actual hearing aid on the other. And she's actually upgraded her hearing aids. So now they're more Bluetooth compatible, so she can hook up the Bluetooth to her phone. And then, so when she calls and, she talks on the phone, it goes right into her hearing aid. So I mean, she's doing well. She's finally, it took a couple years but she's finally figured out what she wants. She's going to major in marketing at Minot State. And so she's real excited about that. She's joined DECA, and I think there's a couple, one of the teachers that we know pretty well that works in the business department is trying to get her to join a couple other clubs too. And so she's kind of just finding her way. And so it's, they're both just, they make your hair fall out every once in a while, but sometimes you just look back, and especially those two, you just look back and of all the things, obstacles that were placed in front of them from the get go, to see where they're both at now. It's just unbelievable.
Well, it's got to be a good feeling to have 2 inspiring daughters.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how many times that we tell our story all the time to people at church, or we've talked to some special ed classes at Minot State, and it's just, to have the response of these young students coming up at Minot State telling us just, they just don't, just these are stories or things that they're learning that you can't teach in a textbook. These are real life, actual events and situations that we hope help them as special educators, help them have a better understanding what some of these parents are going through.
Well, yeah, and it's such a small world, because I'm getting to know you, and then it turns out Kara's twin sister, by the way, Alyssa, taught me at Divide County High School. She was our tech teacher. And then it gets even smaller because Zach Johnson, the head boys basketball coach at Divide County, who I know very well, is your nephew.
Yeah, we had
very mutual people.
Yeah, he was actually our ring bearer in our wedding.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a funny story.
I need some pictures.
I'll find him when I get home. I'll send them to you. But the best story I think we have, and I'm sure when he sees this, he's going to be all embarrassed about it. But he was not excited about wearing the tux, and to the point where they were back in Rolette. Kara's from Rolette originally, and her brother Ben, Zach's dad, had him try on the tux, and he wasn't feeling it. He was not happy, and he took off outside the house and ran out to the front yard and was rolling around in the dirt in the front yard with his tux on, and so Ben was talking to Kara, and Kara, being just being the sweetheart that she is and the soft-hearted person that she is, just she's like, well, if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to. And Ben's like, no, he's going to do it, and he's going to have a smile on his face. And sure enough, when he rose to the occasion. But every once in a while, we still bring up that story every once in a while. But he's a good guy. I've enjoyed knowing him, and now as he's gotten older and now at Divide County and coaching and stuff, it's actually, it's kind of fun to talk basketball with him. And his brother Jackson is the assistant coach at Bottineau. And so when I was the assistant coach out at South Prairie with the boys, Jackson had just started at Bottineau, and I think Zach was the assistant. He wasn't the head coach yet at Divide County. So all three of us were assistant coaches.
Whoa. So
it was Christmas. It was that Christmas. We were sitting around and talking about how our JV teams are going to be. And of course we're all kind of, needling each other. And I said, you know what, let's just put our money where our mouth is. And I took out a $20 bill and I slapped it on the table. I said, $20, throw it in. Whoever has the best record at the end of the year gets the money.
Let's go.
And so they're like, yep, we're in. And so and they're like, well, who's going to hold on to the money? Because that was, and so Kara's like, well, I'll hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we took pictures of it, and, we had everybody, and it was, so we would, with the three of us, had a little text thread going throughout the season, checking in, and I'm proud to say that I won the bet.
Let's go.
I have no idea where the money went, because of course my wife has it. Had it. I don't think I ever got it, but it got spent through our family. It got spent. So so that was it's just a fun little thing with that family, at Kara's family. It's just we always have a good time when we get together. It doesn't matter if it's just a regular weekend or holidays. There's we play a lot of games. We just have a lot of fun. I mean, it's a sports family. You can, you've talked to Zach before, you just know kind of the upbringing, with my father-in-law, Wayne, and, his love of basketball and just anything coaching, it's just, it's something that you see in Zach too, just how he works. Cause I've been fortunate enough to watch him, with the Y League and stuff.
Wasn't he like one of the best coaches of all time from Bottineau? Karen.
Wayne. At the college, he's
for the Lumberjacks, right?
Yep. He led some of his teams to the national tournament.
Damn,
a handful of times. I think when he just getting to Bottineau, he was his high school career was very good. I think he's one of few coaches that have over 1,000 victories in both, if you add up college and high school basketball in the state of North Dakota. I mean, he's got. He's at the college hall of fame there in Bottineau. They've inducted him shortly after he retired, and now he's coaching junior high girls basketball with Alyssa at Bottineau.
Awesome.
He's one of those guys. He's just a diehard. He can't, if he has the opportunity to sit down with some young people and teach them the sport of basketball, he's going to do it. And it's just something in his blood. And I think it would drive my mother-in-law nuts if he stayed home.
Yeah.
It's like one of those where it's like, okay, you'll go do that, go do your coaching thing, and get out of the house every every once in a while. But yeah, he's a lot of fun. And I know, I bounced off ideas with him too. And, to have that resource. And then, my own dad too was a coach for many years in North Dakota. He was actually my coach, my basketball coach, my junior and senior year in high school in Wapaton.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's pretty successful too. He's got over 200 wins too.
Whoa.
Took a team to the state tournament in 1978 from, the old Valley Raiders, Hoople Crystal area up there.
Okay.
And, shout out to the potato country up there. And, where I grew up. And so, they were just actually here over the weekend when we played, when our girls played at the auditorium. And I think Friday night we stayed up way too late, watching game film and talking basketball. And so that's, he's been between Wayne and my dad, I think that's probably what, I can't think of two better guys, to call up or just email or text and say, hey, what do you think about, this type of thing. And the nice thing is they're both, obviously my dad will give me his honest opinion, but Wayne kind of gives me, Wayne doesn't sugarcoat anything. He tells me, he'll tell you straight up what he thinks and how he thinks you can make your team better. And so to have those two resources has been really great, really good for me early on, in coaching when I was younger and thought I knew everything, but didn't really know everything. And now when you're a little older, you look back and say, I'm glad you kind of go through some of those things, but then you have the resources to kind of fall back on to keep going.
Man, you nailed that. I that's got to be so nice. And yeah, let's talk a little South Prairie-Max Royal basketball here while we came to talk. But your first year as the head coach, this team has been a lot of places. It's been very successful. When you get the job, Cory, what's the first thing that goes through your head? Because it's a lot of pressure.
Yep.
But it's also like you've got Scotty Beck, great player, and Brianna Rose, very good. Rutledge, very, very good as well. She signed to play with NDSU, right?
Yep. Yeah, she's verbally committed.
Yep. So you got 3 good core pieces, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of girls there. Yep. But like, what goes through your mind when you first get this job?
Well, I was in class and last spring and our athletic director Brian Kramer came into the room and said, hey, when you get a chance, I want to talk to you about something. And so we went and kind of explained what was going on and said the coaching position is going to be open. We'd like you to take it. And I was honored that they thought of me. I at the time, I was very happy with just being the assistant coach, and we had a good coach. I felt in Tanner Moser that was leading the helm, and he was a young coach and energetic, and the girls really responded to him. I thought he had some really good ideas and game plans and stuff, and I just thought if I was that older voice as a mentor type thing. It opened up and I, obviously I told Brian that, I'm going to, I don't want to just, rush at it. I want to go home and talk to Kara about it. Cause I knew, it's, I've been a head coach before, when I first started out down in North Shore Plaza. And that was over 20 years ago. Yeah. So a lot of stuff has changed in the game of basketball over that long period of time. And I never really thought I was going to have the opportunity to work with kids again in that aspect until I came out to South Prairie and started teaching out there in 2019. So, but when I got home and I talked to Kara about it, and of course it just so happened that Wayne and Holly were down for the weekend, and so wow. I got a chance to talk to Wayne about it too, and he kind of looked at me and he goes, you sure you want to do this? And I thought, I think there's things there with this team that I really like. I mean, you named a few of them: Scotty Beck, Bree Rose, Riley Rutledge, Macy Talbot from Max, who signed at Jamestown.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yep. Wow.
Macy's going to be at Jamestown and Scotty's going to be at Minot, so that's going to be a nice little rivalry to watch. And then just what we had coming back, and some of the younger girls that are coming up, we've got a pretty good program, and I still wanted to be a part of it, and so I after some thought and some consideration, I called Brian up. I said, I'll I'll take the job, and knowing full well of the expectations that were going to be placed in front of us. And I, throughout the spring and the summer, when we were working out, I never once really talked to the girls about it, because everybody, nowadays, they can go on and they can read all the stuff they can on their own. And of course, then when the hoopster comes out and then the preseason polls come out, then everybody kind of, you take a look at it. So I haven't really mentioned, even now, the expectations that people outside of our program have put on us. And because they're always going to be there. The success that we've had the last couple of years, it's hard to not have that expectation on us again this year. And so, to be, as far as the hoopster to be the preseason number one in our region, according to the hoopster, to be in the top 5, preseason poll, to be the number one team in that first poll that comes out, it was there, that, and it's always going to be there throughout the year. And we just have to do a good job. And as a coaching staff, and we have to have our girls ready to play every night, and they have to go out and perform like they are one of the top teams in our division, because a lot of people see us as, one of the top teams in the division. And so we have to go out, and it doesn't matter if it's Devil's Lake, Valley City, or if it's Beulah, Bishop Bryan, whoever it is on our schedule, it doesn't matter. We have to go out and we have to perform like we're one of the top teams in the division.
Your first game,
Yep.
I watched it. Interesting. The announcers, because I was thinking of you the whole time, because they were very, very big homers, but it was good because I still got to watch the game. 2 things that they just come to my mind immediately. You guys lose, which I get it. It's on the road. But secondly, after the game, I'm just thinking like, okay, they just finished volleyball. Yep. Pretty much, like they had a great run in volleyball. Yep. So they're not only good athletes, good basketball players, they're good volleyball players as well. That just has to come into play a little bit, don't you think? I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for you guys, but
that was mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah,
even leading up to that game, there was talk of that, and I completely understand that people want to look at that, and because they're right. I mean, we started practice November 17th, and that Monday was the week of the state volleyball tournament. Yeah. So for that whole first week of practice, I didn't have 8 girls because they were on the varsity roster for volleyball, and then to compound it even more, when the state tournament was over, our girls came back. And 6 of them got back on the bus and went to Jamestown for the state drama on Monday and Tuesday. So I didn't have our full slot of girls until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving was our first day of practice, when we had everybody there. Now, but like you said, that's just a sign of not only do we have good basketball team, volleyball team, but we have kids that excel in everything that they do, whatever the activity is out at South Prairie. And so you can't fault them for being good. Now, when you look back at that game on Monday, can you pinpoint or can you look late in the game where we look a little tired because we're not in basketball shape? There's a huge difference between volleyball shape and basketball
1,000%.
shape. And we had, and we had the lead. We kind of went back and forth a little bit, but we had a lead with 2-3 minutes left, and we couldn't close the door. And hats off to Carrington and that coach.
Yeah, they play well.
They play well, and that coach has them ready. And that coach is good. He has them ready to play, and so we knew it was going to be and we knew they were a tough, scrappy team, and they like to challenge you physically if they can, and so. We knew that kind of going in, and we just, for some reason, it just wasn't in the cards for us that night. And we suffered a loss. And of course it gets compounded because, you're preseason number 1, and I've told people, and I know the media's got to put the polls out when they do, but when nobody's played yet,
right.
I never really put a whole lot of stock in that first one because nobody's played yet. I was talking with the Thompson coach on Saturday before we played them at the auditorium, and he was kind of in agreements too. It's like, let us play a couple games first before that first poll comes out, and then go ahead and seed us however you want. But and actually I had a couple girls come up to me afterwards and say, they've kind of felt a little of that pressure of being number one.
Mm-hmm.
And now that stigma is, that seed is no longer with, we're not number one anymore. I think we came out on, we didn't have a whole lot of time to think about the loss. We had 4 games. We had 4 games last week. And so we went, we had to turn around to get on the bus and go out to Kidmere on Tuesday night.
Which is a very good girls program.
Oh yeah, Mike Zimmer's he's another great coach that it doesn't matter what he has his teams ready to play in. And we knew that was going to be another physical dogfight game. And our girls, to their credit, and I told them after the game, we stepped up. Mm-hmm. And I told them I was very pleased in how we responded to Monday's loss. We came out and physically I felt we played better. Especially defensively, I felt we played really, really well defensively against Kenmare. Rebounded a little better. I think the other thing for us that helped is we got off to a hot start. We made some shots early, and I think that kind of calmed us down a little bit. And then of course we had a lead, and so now we can be a little bit more aggressive defensively and get some turnovers and stuff. And Riley able to kind of hit that 3 to put her over the 1,000-point mark.
Yeah, that was awesome.
In her career. I know that was something that she's, whether she's done to herself or just thought that, just some added pressure onto herself that she has to go out and get this. But now I think that number's out of the way, so you could tell that she actually, played that game a little more loose and in control. And we're definitely a team that if we can get off to a hot start offensively, and then we can just play free on defense and just fly around and just be a nuisance. I mean, that's going to be good. And then you saw that, Friday night when we played Mayport at the auditorium, we just came out and I think we didn't miss. I think we were probably 6 of 6 or 7 of 7 from the 3-point line in the first half. We just couldn't miss. And the nice thing was, the 3-pointers weren't coming from Scotty and Riley, which you normally would think with our team. I think Macy Talbot had three threes, and I think Maya Gunville off the bench.
Yeah,
had
she's
4.
really good too. Yeah.
And so we've got 4 legit girls that can shoot the 3. And so if you put all 4 of them out on the floor at one time, I mean, it's going to be a tough time trying to figure out, who to stop. So I think we're going to, obviously we were able to bounce back from that Monday loss. And I told the girls in the locker room on Monday after the game that, our goal, we got 3 games left this week. Our goal is to finish out the week 3-1. And we were able to do that. And so now we have this week we're fortunate we got our schedule's pretty open. We can practice, we can rest up a little bit, and then we've got 2 games next week with Beulah and Bishop Ryan before Christmas break, and then we end the month with Langdon at the Dome over Christmas break.
Ooh.
So it's going to be some 3 good games, and then of course January rolls around, and then it's all region play begins,
Yep.
And so there's going to be a lot of excitement going on come January.
Because I watched the game on PSP, your game in Kenmare. And I was watching with my girlfriend, Kristen, and I said to her, listen, I know it's a Class A versus Class B team, but this is going to be a tough game for South Prairie-Max.
Yep.
And after the loss last night, I want to see how they rebound and how they actually, not rebound physically, but as a team, how they rebound after a loss. And that's a good sign of a great team where you can go on the road, lose like they lost, lose the number 1 seed, lose all that, and then come into Kenmare Bowbells, who has a Taya Offworth's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching her play the game. And you got the 2 Offworth, the twins who are freshmen. Yep. Mike Zimmer's game plan. He's had all this time to game plan for you guys. And you come in and still get a gritty win, a nice win. And I looked at Chris and I said, okay, they're going to be just fine.
Yep.
And that was the sign of a really good team. And I mean, that as a coach, to go in and get that W, and then you just have, by the way, I love your press. I think your press is one of my favorite things, because you got a player like Scotty Beck, who's just an overall athlete that's phenomenal. Say she hits a layup, boom, right on defense, right at the top of that press. Talk a little bit about the press.
Well, that's something that we've been running that press for the last couple of years, and we have a lot of success with it when we can get that trap on early.
Yeah,
we force that ill-advised pass where you've got a girl like Bree Rose or Riley Rutledge on the weak side that is just basically playing a free safety spot and just waiting for them to pass the ball, to pass it so you can pick it off and an easy layup. And then you've got Macy Talbot at half court, just kind of patrolling the middle there and picking off passes too. So if we can get that thing going, and we haven't seen it yet this year where we've really have it clicking on all cylinders, but there were times last year where we get a layup, like you said, we get a layup, and there's Scotty Beck right there waiting for it, and then she gets it tipped, and Riley will get the steal, and it's another bounce pass right to Scotty for another. I mean, we can we can go from having a 6-point lead to being up 12-14 in a matter of moments with that press if we run it properly and we're not out of position where we're just running after the ball for the sake of going after the ball. I think that's one thing too. I've been trying to work with the girls at is just being disciplined enough to stay, to be in that press. But what I've really been impressed with is we've been able to come out of that and come into like more of a half court setting and come in with a half court trap, or even just straight man, just match up and just play good hard man defense. We did that against Thompson on Saturday, just because I felt we needed to do that, because I think we were tired. Just our fourth game in 6 days, and I knew we were going to be a little tired. So to come out and try to full court press a team like Thompson, who likes to get up and down the floor just like we do, wasn't going to be a very effective way for us to defend them. So we just kind of sat back and just kind of let our length kind of help us out on the half court set, just playing man. And you get Scotty and Macy and Riley and Bree was kind of Bree. I tell you, she's been all over the place these 4 games, and just a nose to the ball, just know where it's at, and strong underneath for rebounds. And that's something that we definitely need going forward, is just being more physical around the basket, both on the offense and defensive end, and just being strong with the ball. But Bree, that on Saturday, Friday and Saturday, that weekend at the auditorium, she showed that she's going to be a force down there, and she's still one heck of a defender too.
What year in school is Bree?
She's a senior.
She's a senior.
Yep.
So I saw her for the first time when she was in Tioga.
Yep.
And here comes this girl who's fast as lightning, wearing sunglasses because she's got the eye thing.
Yep. And
playing out of her mind. She was playing point guard for the Lady Pirates and just having like 20, 25 points a game, hitting these mid-range jumpers, going like south. When like a player goes towards the basket, like they're running downhill. That's how she was. And then she transfers over to you guys. And I'm sitting here and I kind of forgot about her in that first game. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Rose.
Yep.
And is she playing like a stretch 3, or what is she playing right now?
Yeah, she's kind of like the small forward type. So she's
really versatile.
Yeah. And I know her first year at South Prairie was my first year as assistant coach, and so she and I had a lot. She and I would talk quite a bit, and I could tell that you could tell that she was coming from an environment where she was asked to do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now she's joining a team where you don't have to be the main focal point, because you have a girl, you got girls like Scotty and Riley, and I know that first year was kind of a struggle sometimes, just to try to see where do I, how do I fit in this? And I know there were a couple times she and I had conversations. I'm like, hey, you just have to, you have to realize you don't have to do everything, rebound, get the ball outlet the ball, and then just run the floor. Because she can clearly outrun. She's a heck of a her dad was a heck of a track athlete at Dickinson State, and I think that's kind of what she's at least the last time I talked to her, she's kind of gravitating toward track. Not really sure where, but I think that's what she wants to do. So you can tell that she's a track athlete, just the way she runs, and just she can flat out beat people down the floor. And so that's what I just tried to tell her, just get rebounds and outlet and just run down the floor and just look to score layups all the time.
Let the game come to you.
Exactly. And there are times where we saw glimpses of that, and then there's times where you kind of, it falls back to what's comfortable. I've used that a couple times. Everybody kind of, when things get hard, you tend to kind of fall back to what's comfortable for you, and then that's what you want to do. And so to try to get some of these girls to play out of their comfort zone a little bit is going to be the task that I'm going to try to draw out of them a little bit, because there are things that all these girls can do that they just maybe don't realize they can do them yet until they actually get out there do it. So, but yeah, I mean, you look at and then look at the rest of our roster. Abby Mickelson, another senior that starts. She's been just the constant, steady person that I've seen for the last 3 years. You know exactly what you're going to get from her. She's going to give you everything she has. At times she's going to be outsized going up against post players that she's going to give up some distinct height advantage against, but she's also capable of coming out and hitting an outside shot.
Isn't that nice?
And that's and no true testament, better example is that our first ever trip to the state tournament a couple of years ago, she hits the 3-pointer against Thompson that sends us to the championship game, and I guarantee you nobody at the Dome thought that she would be the one to take that shot.
Yeah.
But things kind of broke down on the out of bounds play, and she just found herself with the ball, and her post defender is like, well, she's not going to take that shot, and she just fires the thing up and hits the rim a couple times and goes in, and then that pole votes us to the championship game in our first ever state tournament. So she's capable of hitting the outside, but she's in there as well too, and we've got a couple.
Gunville's good too.
Yeah. I mean, we've got she comes off the bench and she's a nice little spark offensively. She can. Her defense has definitely gotten better since I've been with the program, and because I've told her many times, everybody knows you can shoot the three. But now let's work on some different aspects of the game a little bit, getting to the basket, just playing good defense. But the one that I'm really pleased about that played really well these first 4 games is Maya Rao, another junior that comes off the bench. She's kind of the spark plug right now that I've equated her to, or kind of reminded her of Vinnie Johnson from the old Detroit Pistons Bad Boys. Yeah. Of course, now you say that name to some of these girls, and they probably have no idea who you're talking about. It's more like talking to the dads about it. But yeah, she's one that you've seen it now in the 4 games we played. She comes off the bench, and she's not the tallest girl out there, but she's going to give you everything she's got. And you saw it in Kenmare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she kind of sparked us and extended that lead, and it all came from defense, rebounds, and just running the floor. And she was getting to the basket and making free throws, and it's those players that I feel are going to get you the wins that you're going to get wins from your stars scoring.
Yeah.
But the wins that you need and the games that matter, that I don't want to say matter because they all do, but the games that are going to get you to where you want to go, those wins are going to come from those girls that come off the bench and that how they contribute to you. So that's one thing I've talked to those two about, and just say, hey, you just because they're clearly they're contributing well to us now, and I don't see that dropping at all throughout the course of the year. And now we have some younger girls, some other sophomore girls that are on the bench too that are going to be coming, that could come in and give us some minutes too. So I mean, we're blessed with talent right now. And I think we need to embrace that, because not every school's got the talent that we have, and I'm not bragging. I'm not saying that our program is better than anybody else's. We just have some. Right now, we have a stretch where we've got some really good girls basketball players, and we're going to try to utilize them as much as we can.
The art of the role player.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was coach, so in college, I needed a job, and there was a 7th and 8th grade basketball opportunity to coach at New England High School. So I went down there, applied, and got the job. Well, after my first year, they offered me the C squad coach. So then I was there for 4 years, ended up being the lead assistant JV for the last 2. And in my last year, we had a really good senior group. And there was this kid named Mason Stang. And Mason was a good basketball player, but we had kind of like what you guys have, three really good studs. Yep. And we told Mason, we said, the difference between us going to the state B and not going to state B is you, because you can provide this spark. You can provide the extra pass. You can provide that offensive rebound, kick out pass for a 3. You can provide that, but you're not going to get to score as much as you want. And there might be some playing time issues, whatever, or take an offensive charge, just that kind of player. And he looks at us, he goes, I'll do whatever it takes. And it was funny, in the region championship, he had so many big plays, took a crazy offensive charge, and just all the extra things he did. And we ended up making it because of players like Mason Stang. And it makes me sad because I talk to a lot of coaches. I mean, so do you.
Yep.
And that's one of the main things we talk about is just how the role players, the glue players, are kind of hard to come by nowadays, and it sucks. And it's just like I wish there was more to that, and we could figure that out because it's missing in the game right now.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. Sometimes I think sometimes they take a look and of course everybody wants to have their name in lights. That you want to look at it that way. We were probably both the same way when we were playing. We wanted to be the guy.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just not the case. And the sooner athletes realize that and embrace, okay, what do I do well that can bring positivity to the team? I'm a pretty good rebounder, and I defend well. Games aren't necessarily won in the first and second quarter. They're won in the second half, or they're won in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. So are you on the floor at the beginning of the game, or are you on the floor at the end of the game? If you're on the floor at the end of the game, that means something.
That's better, honestly.
Because that means the coach has enough faith and trust in you that, hey, I'm putting you on the floor when the game's tight because I know what you can do for us. Defense. If we need a defensive stop, I know I can look at you and I can put you in for that defensive possession because I know you're gonna get me a rebound, you're gonna get me a steal, you're gonna do something positive to help us out, and then we can go down and then we can worry about, okay, now we have the ball, now let's figure out what we're gonna do on the offensive end. But right now, I need you to get out there and I need you to get me a stop defensively. Or I just need you to go out there and just rebound the heck out of the ball. It doesn't matter what side, if it's on the offense or defense. I just need you to go after the ball, get rebounds, kick it out to some people, and just do the same thing over and over again. And maybe it'll be for 2 or 3 minutes a game. Maybe it'll be for 8 or 9 minutes, depending on what it is. But one thing I've tried to tell the girls, especially the girls that come off the bench, it doesn't matter how long you're in the game for. Just give me everything you have for the amount of time you're out there. And if it's for 2 minutes, it's for 2 minutes. If it's for a quarter, so be it. But you're out there for a reason. I want you to give me everything you got. And if you don't, we can find somebody else that'll do it. And I think that is a big motivator as well. Would you rather watch the game from the bench, or do you want to be a part of the game on the floor?
Right.
And embrace whatever role it is that you have. And I think we've got girls that understand that right now, and I think it's going to only get better for us because of that.
What's your offensive philosophy like?
I'm kind of I've struggled with it just because I like the running gun when it's done properly. When we can transit, we get steals and we can push the ball down the floor and we're getting layups, it looks really good. But there are also times I feel that we need to be able to come back and run some kind of half court stuff because we're going to play teams that aren't going to allow us to get down the floor and transition. Now, I told the girls, if we go up against a team and they can't stop us getting up and down the floor, then we're not going to, there's no reason for us to slow it down. Like, we're going to continue to do that. But there are going to be times where we're going to have to slow it down and run something offensively. But we have enough girls that we can, we have enough girls that like to get to the basket. So we're going to put them in opportunity where we're going to either isolate them to one side, or we're just going to spread the floor and allow girls to just drive and pass. And because we have girls that love we got players that love to just set up around the 3-point line. And if we can drive the ball and kick it out enough,
it's automatic sometimes.
You're going to find Scotty Beck in the corner, or Riley Rutledge at the top, wide open for a three. And they're gonna and we're gonna bury them.
Yeah.
And we saw that Saturday against Thompson. We shot the three well when we moved the ball around and we were attacking the basket, and we kick it out and we make that one extra pass. And that was the other thing too. We try to preach to them is like, make that one extra pass, and generally that shot will go in. The threes we were missing against Thompson, we weren't getting the ball into a nice flow offensively. It was kind of one pass and then we take a couple dribbles and fire it up. And so that's one thing I've got I just have to keep reminding the girls that, hey, the threes will come. Let's just, try to get to the basket. I'm a firm believer. If you can get to the basket, get to the basket.
Yeah, me too.
Get the layup, get fouled, go to the free throw line. What I'm going to have to do, or at least accept, is, we've got shooters and they want to shoot the ball, and they're going to shoot the ball, 5 seconds into the shot clock.
Yeah.
When we're up 8 with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
I have
it's
to be
going up, coach.
and I have to be okay with that,
Yep.
because the last thing you want to do is
stop the rhythm or whatever.
To damage the confidence of a shooter. So that's one thing I'm going to have to really, because I'm a little old school, and you kind of work, I grew up when you kind of worked the ball around, and you ran sets, and you ran the set until something opened up, but now with these girls, it's like sometimes you just have to go out and just let them play. I know there's been a few times that we try to we call something, and something happens where it breaks down early, and then all of a sudden you're just yelling out, just play, and they figure it out, and we got some smart girls that have played basketball for a while that understand when things start to break down. We don't need to panic. We just need to get ourselves set and get ourselves in some kind of position where we can be successful. And that's where I tip my hat to Macy Talbot. She's probably the best point guard for this team that you could ask for. She doesn't get rattled, or at least you don't see it on her face. She's that steady calm that we need sometimes when everybody else is just like running around like chickens with their head cut off. She's one that I know that I can go and tell her, I can go and say, go get the ball, dribble it up, let everybody get set, and let's run something. And she'll get us kind of calmed down. And lo and behold, we'll run something, and we'll get a nice look at the basket. So, to have her on the court at that time is just, and then that lets Scotty and Riley or whoever just kind of let them go and do what's everybody's strengths that are out on the floor. Well, let's use that to our advantage a little bit. Like Riley and Scotty like to get to the basket if they're one-on-one. Well, let's see if we can isolate them a little bit, and Bree likes, both Bree and Abby they like to get the ball. They like to drive to the basket too. So let's get them in positions where they can be successful and they don't have to try to do too much. And so, that's something we're tinkering with, and we're trying to figure out, what's the perfect balance for everybody.
Other than winning basketball games, which is very important, as a program, what type of life lessons are you trying to build for these girls to take away when they graduate?
I think the biggest thing is just, you're going to have, whether it's on the basketball court, in the classroom, whatever it is you're going to do as an occupation, you're going to have to be able to work with people, and not everybody you work with may have the same goals and aspirations you do, but you still have to find a way to work as a team. There's a common goal everyone wants to try to meet. Well, what can we do as a group, as a team, to make sure we reach that goal? Obviously, for us as a team, the ultimate goal is the hoist that championship at the end of the season. Well, what do we need to do as a team to make sure that happens? Because it's not just going to be one or two people that are going to allow us to do that. We're going to have to lean on everybody. So we're also going to have to work together, and our star players might have an off night, so we're going to have somebody else be able to pick them up. And that's exactly what happened with us on Friday against Mayport. We had some of our role players kind of lead us in scoring a little bit that typically wouldn't, because we've had games where Riley and Scotty have scored well for us, and so then the other ones don't feel like they need to. Well, we kind of need everybody to contribute as much as they can, because we don't want to rely just on one or two people. And so that's the big thing, is you don't want to just sit back and rely on somebody else to help you reach your goal. You're going to have to, if you want a piece of it, you're going to have to give a piece of yourself to it as well, and to be fully vested in it. And I think that's something that these girls understand, because they've seen they've been in the championship championship game, and they know what it takes. You know, they saw Devils Lake and what Devils Lake did to win that title, take that title away from us. And then we stumbled a little bit last year against Valley City and lost that semifinal in a heartbreaker, but then we were able to bounce back and beat Devils Lake for third place. And so, you know, we've had some adversity the last couple of years, and we've been able to bounce back from it. So we just need to know that there's going to be times where things aren't going to be going exactly how we want them, but we can't fall apart. We just got to keep plugging away and keep plowing away, and eventually all the hard work that we've done, there's going to be a reward at the end. Whatever that is, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what it is. But if we continue just to put our heads down and just work as a group and for the common goal, I think we're going to be very successful.
Let's go. I'm Jack. Let's go play right now. That was great. That was like some locker room talk for a game. Yeah. God damn, that was awesome. Well, listen, man, we've been at this for a minute, and I appreciate you coming in to do this. Yeah. I really have. I know we've been wanting to do it for a while now, but Cory, Swimless is a podcast about overcoming tough times. Leave us, the audience, with something. It can be a story. It can be a quote. Maybe somebody told you, but when you yourself were going through a tough time, you were kind of in that dark room. Mm-hmm. You were trying to fight towards the light. What did you say to yourself, or what was something that got you to the light?
I always tell this story whenever I get a chance. Kaylin was just born and was in the hospital, and of course, you know, it's your firstborn, and you know, and you this was obviously wasn't what Kara and I were expecting, and there were a lot of times where, you know, you've got a lot of time to think because mm-hmm. it's pretty quiet, and I was sitting at our house in Makoti by myself because Kara was up in Minot at the hospital. And I was just quiet, just with my thoughts, and my phone rang, and it was my grandma MacIver, and she was just a deeply religious person. I mean, probably the most religious person I know, and she was one that I could talk to about anything, about stuff, and so we were just kind of talking back and forth about stuff, and you know, I just said, you know, Grandma, I'm just struggling right now. I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know how I'm supposed. You know, should I be there for? You know, how do I be there for Kaylin? How do I be there for Kara? You know, all these things. You know, people are asking all these things, and it's just. And there was a slight pause on the other end, and she goes, you know, Cory, she goes, God always has a plan, and that stuck with me, and she goes, you may not know what it is now, but you will eventually. And whenever I tell the story about the girls, I always end with that. I said, you know, that you may not understand what's going on now, but trust me, God has a plan for whatever's going through. You know, and you may not understand what it is now, but hopefully, you know, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you know, you understand that. And I think now, you know, looking back at those words, and now to see where both girls are at now, you know, now it makes sense that you know, all the adversity that the girls went through, all the things that Kara and I have gone through, you know, with them as well, and our own personal struggles with acceptance and things like that. You know, it all makes sense that there's a reason why God gave us these two girls. And there's a reason why they've allowed us to be a part of different organizations that cater to people with disabilities. Because to be honest, you know, if we had normal, healthy children, we wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't know what Prairie Grit was, or we wouldn't understand some of the things that some of these parents are going through. So to do that, and just those simple words that God has a plan, and it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And I know after it never fails. Whenever I got off the phone with my grandma, or after I, you know, when she'd write a letter or something, she always knew what to say, or how to say it in a letter, or how to say it in a phone call, to kind of make everything feel better. And that is something that I will, till people are sick of me hearing it, I'm going to tell people that God has a plan for each and every one of us, and we may not understand what it is now, but hopefully in the future you understand what it is.
Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. Well, go South Prairie-Max. Everybody check them out. And Cory, this has been a true honor. Thank you for sharing all that stuff tonight. I know it's personal, but I know it means a lot to you. And good luck the rest of the way, man. I cannot wait to watch.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, that's a wrap, everybody. Thank you.